Number 10, -3 equals 1 over S. Now, first thing we always want to do is we want to say the domain is S cannot be equal to 0. That's just for our own information. It's not asking us what the domain is, but we have to make sure in the end that if S equals 0, we say we don't have a solution because it cannot equal 0. Now I want to eliminate the denominator. To eliminate the denominator, I'm going to multiply both sides by S. And I end up with minus 3S equals S over S is 1. These cancel. Now, again, I'm solving for S. I divide both sides by -3. These cancel, and I get S equals -1/3. And that's my solution. Number 11, -8 equals -7 over x plus 7. Again, my domain, x cannot equal -7. That would make my denominator 0. Can't have that. As long as that is stated, we can go about solving. And how do I solve it? I'm going to multiply both sides by x plus 7. This cancels with this, and I get -8 times x plus 7 equals -7. Now, there's a couple ways you can go about this. I think the easiest way is divide both sides by -8. That cancels with that. I get x plus 7 equals negative over negative is a positive, 7/8. And then last, I subtract 7 from both sides. This is x equals 7/8 minus 7, which equals 7/8 minus, multiply the 7 times 8, I get 56/8, which equals -49 over 8. And that is my solution. 13. 3 over c plus 1 over 5 is equal 5 over 3c. Now I have 3 terms, and I want to find the least common denominator. I have a c. I'm just going to do it up and down because these are a little bit easier to do that way. Now, between the c and the 5, I have to multiply this times 5 and this times c. Now the first two are the same. Which is 5c. Now I have 5c and 3c. And the only thing I need to do is multiply this c, 3c by 5, and both of these by 3. And I get my least common denominator is equal to 15c. I have to multiply 3 over c by 15 over 15 times 3 over c plus 1/5. And what am I going to multiply that by? I need it to be 15c. I need to multiply that by 3c over 3c. That equals 5 over 3c. And this I have to multiply by 5 over 5. I get 45 over 15c plus 3c over 15c equals 25 divided by 15c. They all have a common denominator, which means if I multiply both sides by 15c, this cancels with this and this cancels with this. What do I have left is 45 plus 3c equals 25. And now I just solve. I can subtract 45 from both sides. I get 0. 3c equals negative 20. Divide both sides by 3. And I get c equals negative 20 divided by 3. That's a little bit longer than it needs to be. I'm going to show you a shorter way. Number 13. 3 over c plus 1 over 5 equals 5 divided by 3c. And I'm not going to find the least common denominator. Again, we already know it's 15c. Now, if I multiply both sides by my least common denominator, this distributes. I can come on through and cancel this c with this c. 15 over 5 is 3. C with this c. 15 over 3 is. I can cancel c with c. 15 divided by 3 is 5, which gives me 15 times 3 is 45, plus 3c equals 25. I subtract 45 from both sides. I get 3c equals negative 20. Divide both sides by 3. And c equals negative 20 divided by 3. And notice we have the same answer. Negative 20 divided by 3, negative 20 divided by 3. This was a little bit cleaner. Let's look at the other one. It took a lot longer for us to get there. But either one is fine, whichever way you like. I'm going to do the second way. For me, it's a little simpler. And hopefully it'll be simpler for you as you see it a few more times. Number 14. U divided by u plus 2 minus 2 over u plus 2 equals 8. Well, I have a common denominator, so I can say this is u minus 2 divided by u plus 2 equals 8. U minus 2 is the same as u plus 2 over u plus 2 equals 8. 1 equals 8. Obviously not true. No solution. Number 15. We get negative 2 equals negative 6 divided by VW plus 9 minus 2 divided by W plus 3. First step, factor. Minus 2 equals negative 6 divided by 3W plus 9 is 3 times W plus 3 minus 2 over W plus 3 minus 2 equals, I can simplify 6 over 3 to 2. Therefore, I get negative 2 over W plus 3 minus 2 over W plus 3. Now, before I cancel any variables, I want to find my domain, and that is W cannot be equal to negative 3 because that would make a 0 in the denominator. I find my least common denominator. And my least common denominator is pretty obvious here. It's W plus 3. I can multiply both sides times W plus 3. All right, now I can cancel W plus 3 with W plus 3, W plus 3 with W plus 3, and I end up with minus 2 times W plus 3 is equal to negative 2 minus 2. This is the minus 2 here. Minus 2 times W plus 3 equals negative 4. And I could distribute that negative 2, but honestly, the easier way is to divide both sides by negative 2, because now these are going to cancel. I end up with W plus 3 is equal to positive 2. Subtract 3 from both sides. I get W is equal to negative 1. I check my domain, step 3. Step 4, multiply both sides by LCD. And number 5, cancel and solve. Check that solution is in the domain. Negative 1 is in the domain because the domain can have anything but negative 3. That's my solution. Number 16. Solve for V. 1 over V minus 5 plus 6 over V plus 4 equals negative 54 divided by V squared minus V minus 20. Now, to find the least common denominator, we're going to really do exactly what we've always done. We factor, we see what's in common, and we make them the same. The only thing here for me to factor is the V squared minus V minus 20. I'm going to rewrite this as 1 over V minus 5 plus 6 over V plus 4 equals negative 54 divided by V minus 5 times V plus 4. And now I can see my least common denominator. My least common denominator is going to be equal to v minus 5 times v plus 4. I'm going to multiply both sides by v minus 5 times v plus 4. Remember the steps. Step 1, factor. Step 2, find the LCD. Step 3, multiply both sides by the LCD. I have v minus 5 times v plus 4 times 1 over v minus 5. And I'm just going to start by distributing it because I won't have enough room to do anything else. V minus 5 times v plus 4 times 6 over v plus 4 equals minus 54 divided by v minus 5 times v plus 4 times v minus 5 times v plus 4. Now, if I want to start canceling things, I can cancel v minus 5 with v minus 5, v plus 4 with v plus 4, and v minus 5 with v minus 5, and v plus 4 with v plus 4. What do I have left? I have v plus 4 times 1, so that's that, plus v minus 5 times 6 is equal to negative 54. And look at that. I don't have any denominators to worry about. Oh, but I did forget a step, didn't I? I'll call this 1.5. This is domain. So my domain is that v cannot equal 5 or negative 4. If it's either one of these two numbers, that means it is going to be there's going to be a 0 in the denominator, and we give up right away. If the answer is not either one of those two numbers, we're doing great. I took something really complicated. I factored, found the domain, found the least common denominator, and multiplied both sides by the LCD. The next step, I simplify, which is where we are right now. After that, I'm just going to solve. I have v plus 4. I can just take the parentheses off that. There's nothing else to it. Plus, I have to distribute that 6. 6v minus 30 equals negative 54. Combine like terms, I have 7v minus 26. Here's my 7v. Plus 4 minus 30 is minus 26 equals negative 54. I add 26 to both sides. I get 7v, this cancels, equals negative 28. Divide both sides by 7 gives me v is equal, I have space. I divide both sides by 7, which gives me v is equal to negative 4. I only have one solution, negative 4. And my domain, oh, look at that. I'm not allowed to have the answer be negative 4. I'm done. This one is no solution. So we really do have the same steps. Number 1, factor. I just want to give you the steps. Number 2, find the domain. Number 3, find the least common denominator. Number 4, multiply both sides by the LCD. Simplify, which is really the same as cancel. Cancel whatever you can. And then solve. And I guess last would be check, answer with the domain. And I think that's pretty good steps for every one of them. Number 17. W minus 8 over W is equal to negative 3 plus 20 over W. Let's go in order. Number 1, factor. Nothing to factor. Number 2, domain. W is not equal to 0. That's the only thing I have to worry about, is that W can't equal 0 because that's in my denominator. Number 3, LCD. The least common denominator would be W. Number 4, multiply both sides by LCD, which is W. That means I'm going to multiply this side by W and this side by W. I get W squared minus 8. This W is distributing to both terms. Instead of writing it out, I'm writing it like this. W times W is W squared, and then minus W times 8 over W is 8, equals minus 3W plus 20. Now, whenever we have a quadratic, hopefully you remember, we have to bring it all to one side and set everything equal to 0. I'm going to add 3W minus 20 to both sides. You can do this in 2 steps. You don't have to do this in 1 step. I have W squared plus 3W minus 28 is equal to, well, this is 0 and this is 0, equal to 0. Now I factor. I can factor this to W plus 7 times W minus 4 equals 0. my solutions are W plus 7 equals 0 or W minus 4 equals 0. Here I have W equals -7 or W equals 4. 21. Here we're going to solve for R. We have 5 over R equals capital B times A. We want to solve for R, which means we want R by itself, but it's in the denominator. We need it in the numerator. Multiply both sides by R. That'll cancel this R. And I get 5 equals capital B, capital A, small r. Now, I need to remove the BA. Those are all multiplied together. I do the opposite operation, which is division. B cancels with B, A cancels with A. I get 5 over BA is equal to R, or R equals 5 over BA. Number 23, solve for n, and n is inside those parentheses. There's more than one way to do this problem. I have to get that n, and it's really embedded inside that function. So what I want to do is first, I'm going to get rid of that u. Here's what I'm solving for. I have to basically peel away the layers. So I'm going to multiply both sides by u, because that cancels that u with that u, and I get w times r plus n equals capital D times u. Now here's where things can deviate. I'll do both ways. If I want to distribute, I can say WR plus WN is equal to capital DU. I'm still solving for this n. I'm going to subtract WR from both sides. And I get WN equals DU minus WR. And now I just divide both sides by W. This cancels, and I get N is equal to DU minus WR divided by W. That is one solution. Another solution, if I don't distribute, I can first start off by dividing both sides by W. This gives me R plus N equals DU over W. And then I can subtract R from both sides. And I get N is equal to DU over W minus R. Now, I bet you're thinking they don't look the same. Well, they are. If I separate this into two fractions, here I can cancel my W's, and I end up with the same answer exactly. Let's do one more. Number 23. V minus 5 over T equals 1 over U. Solve for T. Again, I need to do my steps. There's nothing to factor. Find the LCD. My LCD is equal to T times U. They have nothing in common. We have to multiply them by each other. And then I multiply both sides by TU. By the way, you'll know if you got a good LCD if you don't have any denominators when you're done. That's the goal, no denominators. I distribute. I have T, U, V minus, but these are canceling, so we can cancel it first. This equals, and again, I can cancel the U's, T. I have TUV minus 5U equals T. Remember, I'm solving for T. I have to get all the T's on one side. I'm going to subtract TUV from both sides. This cancels and I get minus 5U equals T minus TUV. Now, this is where people usually get really confused because we have these two T's. They're on the same side now. I can factor out my greatest common factor. So I have minus 5U is equal to T times 1 minus UV. And then I can divide both sides by 1 minus UV. And I end up with negative 5U over 1 minus UV, this cancels, is equal to T. Another way you can see this is T is equal to negative 5U over 1 minus UV. I can factor out a negative, and I get negative 1 plus UV. The negative and the negative cancel. I get 5U divided by, and since I have a UV that's positive, I'm going to say UV minus 1. These two answers are exactly the same. This is what T equals. Thanks for watching.